This is Mark Guerrero. Welcome to East LA Music Stories. My guest is Raul Pacheco of the group Ozomatli. Ozomatli formed in 1995. They're known for their activism and diverse musical styles, including jazz, salsa, funk, reggae, hip hop. You even got into some kind of Arabic kind of deals, right? Scales.
Yeah, just from visiting those places in the world, and one
Yeah,
of our percussionists actually has some knowledge in that stuff. So yeah,
yeah. So I love your diversity, right? Racial diversity, musical diversity, and we're in a time where the government seems to hate diversity, wants to get rid of it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we're all about it. Yeah,
yeah, I can tell. So let's see. I have a definition of the name Ozomatli. By the way, welcome, Raul. Glad to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
Great, thank you. So I got this from Wikipedia, man.
Oh yeah, you gotta
Ozomatli
get.
take their name from the Nahuatl word from the astrological symbol of the monkey taken from the Aztec calendar. Ozomatli is also a god of dance, fire, the new harvest, and music, so it's a great name.
Yeah, it seemed appropriate. It was our drummer who suggested that, our original drummer, and it just stuck. We just said sure. We kept going with that. Yeah,
And I've seen the monkey. It's the actual monkey that was on the Aztec calendar.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you know your logo, that really great logo with the OZO.
We got that logo from a guy who hired us at Pasadena Art Center. And I think it was the most money we had ever made up to that point. And it might have been like $400 or something. I don't know. And he said, I'll pay you this plus a logo. And he was this
Ah,
designer and he gave us this logo and it's been with us ever since. Yeah.
beautiful logo, perfect. So you guys, you've made how many studio albums would you say? Studio albums, like
I think studio records about 10 and then other live records.
a couple EPs,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
live at the Fillmore.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there's so much stuff that it's so
Mhm.
overwhelming that I can't cover everything. I'm going to try to cover
Yeah,
as much as
all
I
good.
can,
Yeah,
and touch on the things I think are particularly interesting,
cool.
and go from there. So you guys, aside from your incredible musical diversity, are known for your activism.
We started that way. Our first gig was based around we got a call from a group that was on strike and they were working with young people and they actually won, so to speak. They lost their jobs, but they were in a battle with the city and the city said you could keep the building for a year. So they started opening up the building to locals in the area that was like in Pico Union. And one of the things they needed was a band to kind of have a reason to charge $5 at the door because they needed to raise money for the power and the water and basic things like that. We showed up. We were the ones who showed up. We got a call and so there was no real group. We just kind of said, "Oh, let's jam." Okay, cool. We're the ones who showed up and we're the ones who've been showing up since.
Now, is that the one? Let's see, where do I have this here? I read where this was. Did this have anything to do with the LA Conservation Corps? Or is that a
Yeah.
different thing?
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
was the same. It was a division of them. They do great work. And then but one group was doing these kind of like artistic and musical presentations, which were great. And it was headed by this guy Carmelo, who was super supportive of kind of young people in art, and this was his take on how to get people involved. That got cut, but part of what the issue was that they were being promised transitional work and also better healthcare, even opportunities to go back to school, and those never transpired. And I think it was all that combination of stuff that kind of they decided to kind of make us think about it, and we showed up in support of it. Yeah.
So something I found online, it says that how they met. In 1995, all the members met while attempting to form a workers' union within Los Angeles. Though they were not able to win recognition, they were given an abandoned building for 1 month. The building turned into a cultural arts center, and within it, Ozomatli was born. So, like, how many of the members?
There were two, with the original drummer and the bass player that's still with us, Will. They were in that organization. They were the ones who made the calls. They had a lot of musician friends because they were all playing in other bands. Anton was this really cool Chicano ska band called Yesca. He was the drummer for that. Uli, who's still in Ozomatli, was in that band. He showed up. Will was playing with different people. I think he was playing with Macy Gray at the time too, before she had any kind of big hits. And so they just called their musician friends for that portion of hey, we need to raise some money. And we were one of many bands that would go there and rehearse in the various rooms and would get formed there. Bands that were from the area was like Blues Experiment. I know Quetzal would show up there every once in a while. Um, Olin would come by and rehearse there and play. Black Eyed Peas would do the same before they were like big. So these are all people we knew as musicians. And we're the ones who showed up for this and kind of became Ozomatli because we would just do shows for free. This was our contribution as individual musicians. We were like, oh, what can we do? And it's Carmelo, who was kind of heading this particular group that went on strike, they said, you're a musician, you can provide that service. And believe me, people need it. And he kind of put that in our heads. And even though we knew many musicians that were political and had made careers that way, he kind of put it right into us to, you can do this now. So we started to be the group that a lot of organizations would call, and we'd go play for free and support the cause.
Wow. So you said two of the later
Yeah,
members of
yeah.
Ozomatli were there. How many of the others showed up besides you that
More
wanted?
than more than what are there now. That we would show up in the beginning. There, it was kind of a free for all, but there was a core group that was always showing up. I'd say of about 12 people. There could be 15 people on stage because the way our musical kind of template was formed was really because of that need to fill up time. So we showed up, we never played with each other in this form, and we didn't even have a drummer, I think, that first time. And we had a DJ, it was Cut Chemist, who's gone on to do a whole bunch of stuff on his own and is real regarded, highly regarded as as a DJ and a scratch DJ and a producer. Was also in a band called Jurassic 5 that was big for a while. He was just looping the drum kits, you know. We would play to that. And that's kind of how all that evolved. So it was if you showed up, the deeper concept that we understood later was that everybody has something that can be in the circle. What is it? You got to bring it, you got to show up with it, and let's see how we could fit it in and make that circle bigger. That became kind of the more cultural, political kind of philosophy of us that we still kind of use as an ideal. Yeah.
Wow. What blows my mind is the ones that finally,
Yeah.
coalesced and became
Yeah.
Ozomatli. It,
Yeah.
it blows my mind, like the musicianship of those guys. All of you.
Yeah,
It's
there's
just
there's heavy
unbelievable.
heavy cats, like Azur's a great singer, a great trumpet player. He went to Cal Arts for orchestration. I don't think he ever graduated, but he went there long enough and was trained. Uli as a horn player, studied with a lot of different people, went to Loxa. Um, I know he did take classes at PCC and went to Long Beach for music. I don't know if he finished either because when that was happening, like all that started to happen, we started to get gigs. So we all had to make a choice at one point. And I think Jiro, who is the guy who I mentioned earlier, was kind of had some knowledge about Middle Eastern drumming. Like he actually has a degree in Indian classical music from
Wow.
Cal Art Pablo. So, all these elements are there for some of the guys very trained, and for the rest of us, just from doing it, from trying to write, 1,000 songs and learning how to do it, from playing in different bands of all sorts, from funk bands to rock. I think if there's anything above all else, is we do love to play music. And so when we would show up, it was really that kind of energy. And and we would get a lot of gigs that would allow us to just kind of form what we were doing. We were never big on rehearsing, we still aren't, but we would kind of figure it out on stage or know what the need was. Oh, remember this song? Well, we'd have a little huddle beforehand and be like, okay, let's break this down into this other. So we would kind of write them on the spot or start to shape arrangements and notice what worked for us, what worked for the crowd. But we also all like different kinds of music. And we
Well
were
said.
introducing each other to different things. And we all grew up with different kinds of music. And we were introducing each other to different things. And kind of like, I learned how to play the brass a little because they were playing a lot of like Cuban-based music, and I was like, what do I do on guitar here on my electric guitar?
Uh,
And guy was like, well, there's this guitar called a tres, and I like had to go search and figure it out, and little by little, you meet people who do know. You know, we'd gone to Cuba early on. I'd go hang out with tres players there. So any opportunities we get to kind of learn. And I think we're still like that in terms of the things that we love and that we bring into the band. We're referencing things that we love.
do you know Ruben Gatamara of the Blazers?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Is it,
of course I do. You know,
he
I would
play
jam with them.
yeah, he plays at this,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and they came up
yeah,
kind of when you did in the '90s.
yeah, yeah. I love the band. You know, I used to play with this guy Jesse. Where I'd play. He was playing accordion. Who would jam out with those dudes, and I
Oh
would
yeah,
play. Learning how to play like bajo sexto and things like that. And that was when I was a teenager. So I think for a lot of us in the band, we love music. And if it calls for you to kind of like contribute and to have to learn something, then, you know, it becomes a fun experience because there's an actual thing you're going to have to apply it to, you know. And I think
yes.
some of us are more into like tradition and specific things, and some of us are less. Like I'm a guy who's like, I'm not so concerned as playing everything correctly. I understand like how important it is to kind of learn those traditions if you're gonna do that. And I've always felt like the feel of those things are more important to me, um and the kind of interesting things that can happen when you're not necessarily playing it exactly.
Absolutely.
Because as a songwriter, I'm not so much interested in as those details as I am in the song and the feel of it. But like I said, you'll get different answers from all of us, which I think is part of what makes us special, you know.
What makes you guys special too is how you fit together. You know, there's certain bands like Los Lobos, the
Yeah.
perfect combination of people. You guys are a perfect combination of people, and it actually becomes, you know, greater than the sum of the parts when you get the right parts.
I think it's always been that. Yeah. You know, when us as individuals are very different, we have very different takes on music. And we all do stuff on our own. But when we're together, we really are concerned about gelling as a musical unit. And if we're combining styles, say, or referencing things because we're trying that intentionally or because we don't know, we're always trying to make sure it feels good. And we know, oh, we can adjust a little bit. You know, we have a song that's kind of popular called Comida de los Muertos. It was off our
Mhm.
first record.
Yeah,
That's really like a kind of, you know, kind of a Mexicano cumbia tradition, but it's really like reggae bass playing
yeah.
going on underneath. And that's one of Will's things is really like R&B funk, like reggae bass player. That was how he grew up playing and the music he loved. And his thing was like, well, how do I play that to that? And what we learned that we could adjust on both ends. You know, we could adjust the groove a little bit to what you're doing, and you could adjust a little bit to what this is happening and find this kind of pocket that all of a sudden made sense. So it wasn't like, and I think that's what all bands do and all musicians do when they're playing together. And if they have different kind of expertise, they kind of are like, oh, well, you know, this is fun. So how do I fit in? And you use all that knowledge, but also listen to what's happening, even if it's something that's not what you've been taught or is not what you consider you're good at, so to speak, and just try to fit in. And I think that's what we're doing. We're just trying to fit in. And like I said, that's become a bigger metaphor for all of us. Yeah.
Throw it all into the stew.
Yeah, yeah.
Into the menudo.
It was always there, you know. We're a product of the stew. So, you know,
And
you
speaking of
know,
guitar playing, you know, I check out what you do, and it's what you do is amazing because you know, some of these songs like "What do you do?" You know, there's
yeah,
funk, there's what, and you
yeah,
got to figure out parts. It's not always a matter of chords. It could be a
yeah,
single line, it could be a riff,
yeah,
it could,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's a whole art form to figure out what to play in all these
I,
different genres.
yeah, the way I do it, I've always been like this. I'm not like an expert guitar player. I'm not like my vocabulary isn't super huge. Um, in this particular band, Ozomatli, there's not a lot of space actually
So many instruments.
because you have the drum because we're so drum percussion oriented, and it's like okay, you have the drummer, and those are already like three things at a minimal happening: the kick, the snare, the hi hat, and that's a pattern. Then you have okay, say you get congas on there, that's gonna fill out some other stuff. Okay, now if you have something on top of that, even if it's something simple, like now there's all this stuff in there. And so, and then you have all these other instruments on top of that. So, and I might be the only chordal instrument sometimes. So sometimes I'm very picky, like, okay, I am going to play full chords when I don't need to. I can have more space, but it's kind of, I'm trying to be minimal actually in
Yeah.
many ways to kind of, uh, to not, if there's a groove that we're establishing, whether it's already established and I'm fitting in, or whether it's something I'm playing that people, that becomes like the thing that we're very committed to. Whatever we're doing cannot, if it does shift, it has to make it better. And that's kind of the litmus test that we, when we're playing together, and especially writing, it's like, but there's this groove that what you're doing is kind of taken away from it. Whether it's singing or another part, another horn part, or like, how do we? This seems to be the thing we love. How do we enhance that? And so what I found is playing less, especially in the beginning, like is helpful.
As they say,
It's
sometimes less is.
there's a discipline to that. It's like in that's like an African tradition. It's like a funk tradition. James Brown, they have those two guitarists. They're repeating those lines, and on their own, they're pretty simple. If you take them out, you miss them. There's an integral part of what they're doing, but on its own, it's actually pretty simple. But in the whole of it, it really matters. And it's kind of that concept. And that's a discipline, I think, that is overlooked, often because it's people think that that isn't, but it's super important. You're a part of this train. And when if you mess up, you feel it. So having this repetitive kind of mantra-ish, which is very African, which is very, Black American music, and that I see, yeah.
I love that as a guitar player myself. Is when you're playing rhythm, sometimes you're doing one groove all the way through the song, or in reggae and you're just
Yeah.
getting this one little part, but there's a joy in doing that, and it
I,
makes the
I
band.
love it. I mean, when you're a part of that machine,
Yeah,
that's feeling.
you're
And
part of
I
the machine.
notice if I mess up or if I deviate, it does affect it. So you are part of it, and it doesn't seem like it, but when you really examine it and have some experience playing that, you realize, oh, I'm a part of this machine that is
That's right.
all working together.
It's a
Yeah.
joy. Yeah. So, as far as your influences, I saw an interview you did. I think it was you and Will Dog,
Cool.
and you mentioned you did mention James Brown,
Yeah, yeah.
but you mentioned I think one of his later ones.
All right.
I forget, but it was sort of the later James Brown period.
Yeah, yeah.
And but to me, obviously, you guys as a group and you are big into funk, man. Funk is a
Yeah,
huge
yeah,
element in
yeah.
what you do.
Yeah, I think we're a dance band, so all those traditions from whether it's from South America, Mexico, or Africa, or different, even, Middle Eastern countries, different parts of the world, we like that kind of joyous like element of dance. And I think that in a lot of our music, uh that's a big integral part. So we're referencing these things that we love, and being from here, as a kid, I mean, James Brown was the first thing that hit me, like as a 5-year-old, that I remember that I couldn't stop moving, stop dancing, and that development of his style is has been influential to so many people. But for me, it's really important because it references those things I was talking about, like the simplicity of the mantra of repetition.
Right.
It becomes this feel that you kind of get locked into. And for me, like it is mesmerizing. I remember as a kid being like, and as I got older, being like, whoa, they're just playing the same couple bars over and over, and a little turnaround, little hit somewhere,
Yeah.
and
Those
the
horn stabs.
and
Great.
understanding his method of like being like super on everybody to have to, singing the horn lines or singing the guitar, play it like this or play, and having something inside him that, and this thing all of a sudden that becomes the, and that's I love that, and to this day, like I'm moved by that, and I can dance all night and all day with that kind of group.
I remember the song. It was "Cold Sweat." You mentioned.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's just And that, it's when they get into the groove, all those starts and stops of the calls. And then, but once they hit that thing, so, and a band that it's not easy to do, and that's what, that as a musician, when you learn stuff, you go, oh, wow, it's not easy for everyone to come in right on the one perfectly, not a little slow, not a little fast, not settle into the groove, like right on it. Like, it's not easy. It's not
And
easy.
funk is all about the one, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And he really
So
invented funk. Come on, you know.
yeah, yeah. So it's something that still moves me, to this day
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And you also mentioned, and this made me feel old because you mentioned when I was a kid, I liked Van Halen. A
Oh
kid,
yeah.
when Van Halen came out, I was like 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa, I'm old. But
I
no,
the same thing, I grew up in Boyle Heights, and my parents were from here. My sisters and my parents loved music. And so what I was introduced to as a young person was, and they were all older. So all my older sisters and my parents all had their era of whatever they were into.
that's it.
So I was hearing all of this at the same time though. And I grew up on the couch in the living room because we had a two-bedroom house and my parents, my three sisters and me. And I was the only boy and I was on the couch. There was a big console, those old consoles, the record console.
Furniture.
And I had those things out. And so I was introduced, I think the most influential thing for me is the song form because all of those different styles were committed, and I still think most pop music is committed to the song form. There are some variations of that, but most of it is still this, 3 to 4 minute tradition of a verse, a verse, a chorus, maybe a bridge, maybe a breakdown, maybe, a rephrase of one part, but definitely a couple choruses out. That hasn't changed much. And and I grew up hearing all these different versions of that. It could be Trios Los Panchos, it could be old R&B music, it could be old country music. My dad used to go to the Central Valley a lot to work and he brought back that stuff home. It could be my sister who was 11 years older than me. I was 5, remembering hearing this. She was into all those bands that she grew up listening to all kinds of different kinds of rock music, different kinds of disco music. If it was 74, I had a sister who was 10 who was listening to like Bobby Sherman, who was like, who was 15, or 14, who was listening to, early, rock music that she was getting into. My sister, older sister was 16 at the time. They were listening. I had Cat Stevens, I had Led Zeppelin, I had, um, you know, uh, pop music of the day. So it was all happening in the house. And that was my introduction to song, really, and hearing these different types of styles of music, but all in that format.
We're all the product of especially what we grew up with, right? Everybody
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much, whether you're a musician or not,
yeah,
whatever your decade is when you were a teenager, that's going to
yeah,
stick with you for life. Those are going
yeah,
to probably be your main influences. For
yeah.
me, I was lucky. I had an older brother, and he had the Elvis records and the
Oh,
50s
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So when I was under 10, I was listening to Elvis.
yeah,
I loved the Everly Brothers,
yeah. They're
Little Richard. It was all that part.
very
But my
good.
era was the 60s. So it was Dylan, the Beatles, Buffalo Springfield, and that was my big thing.
I hear all that stuff because it was so popular, and the radio was so much more prominent in that time.
Oh, it was
Now
all
you
about the
have
radio.
internet and phone and everything else and computer ways to engage in music, but it was really only the radio and record and stuff. And so all that classic stuff I love, and I grew up with all of that.
So let me name the people. Is this the core group here that I found on the internet? Okay, Will Dog Abers,
Yep,
bass, right?
yep.
And marimbula, what kind of instrument is that?
Marimbulo he hardly plays that anymore, but it's just like a African crate you sit on like a box that it's like a bass thumb piano.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You see it in Cuban music, you see it in kinds of
Yeah,
African music, you see
okay,
it.
all right. Forgot. And he does lead vocals, backing vocals. You on guitar, tres, jarana, and vocals.
Mhm.
Justin El Nino Borre,
Yeah.
percussion, rap vocals, lead vocals, backing vocals. Asdrubal Sierra, trumpet, lead vocals, piano. That guy can sing his ass off.
Yes, he's a great singer. Great singer. Yeah.
And you're all good singers.
Yeah.
Um, Ulysses Bella,
Hmm.
saxophone, background vocals, requinto, jarocho, keyboard, melodica,
Yeah.
and how do you say it, Hiro or Jiro
Jiro.
Yamaguchi?
Jiro
Jiro
Yamaguchi.
Yamaguchi,
Yeah.
drums, percussion, backing vocals. Is that the core group? You
Yeah.
said there was seven. I think this is
Yeah,
six.
that's the six. Well, we always a guy who's toured with us for many years named Mario Caleri,
Hmm.
who's an incredible drummer. He met Aju and Jiro when they were at Cal Arts. Mario's dad was in America. Mario's dad was from Buffalo, and
Oh,
Mario was born in Buffalo, but as a kid grew up in Ojai, lives in Ventura. His dad's a killer sax player, but a really killer like B3 player, like Jimmy Smith style.
oh man.
Yeah, Mario's a very good drummer, and he makes us a really good band. Yeah.
Well, also in that interview I heard when you talked about James Brown and Van Halen, um, the other person mentioned it might have been Will Dog, but he mentioned the Clash and the Dead
Oh yeah,
Kennedys, and that was an
yeah,
influence on that generation,
yeah,
big
yeah.
time.
He grew up, in a family that was very political, and I think the Clash had that edge, and punk rock music in general, was kind of this kind of out
Yeah,
of this. A lot of it was very anti-establishment, so to speak, and he grew up, and that was one of his favorite bands growing up. Yeah, and there were all these influences, and they would touch on reggae and other kinds of soul, and even though they were doing it their own kind of like punk rock filter through it, which is cool. Yeah.
I think that was Will Dog, wasn't it, that was saying that? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
interesting guy.
Yeah, a really important band. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start getting into a couple of the albums, and maybe we'll do a couple of albums, then we'll jump around. But your first album, Ozomatli, was on Elmo Sounds,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
was when A&M Records sold, they started
yeah,
a new label, Jerry Moss and Herb Alpert,
yeah.
Elmo
Cool.
Sounds. And, I recorded for A&M in the early 70s,
Oh wow, cool.
and in the early 80s, Herb Alpert recorded one of my songs.
Oh,
So,
cool.
so I was around a lot around that
Right
time
on.
too.
Right on.
And I remember when Elmo Sounds happened.
Yeah, yeah.
How was that like? Did you record at A&M Studios? What used to be A&M
We
Studios?
recorded. No, we recorded at this first for that record. We started at this place called NRG. It doesn't. I don't even know if it exists anymore. It's in North Hollywood, and that was our first big kind of like proper recording studio, and we worked with a great engineer, a great producer, and it was our first experience learning how to make that type of document. I think all of us had recorded different times, had some experience in studios, but this was the first one at that level where we had a budget, we had a timeline, we had songs, there were goals, it was very specific in how we were going to try to get all this done.
Now, how long
And
had you been together by the time you did that album?
a year and a half. So
Wow.
we started playing, and what part of the method of how we got the buzz going first, it wasn't necessarily our intention, but we played a lot. We would say yes to a lot of gigs, and that started creating because we were impressionable enough where people started like really being moved by when they'd see us to be like, I just saw this band I never heard of in this loft in downtown, and they're playing. I'm gonna go check them out the next gig. But we would play a lot. I think the record we had for ourselves is like 14 gigs in one weekend. So so that's part of what, and when I talk to young people too, like I'm like, well, there's one way, but you have to get in front of people and you have to make it impressionable enough so that when you do play, they want to come see you again, but you got to do it a lot, and especially in the beginning. So that's kind of how the buzz started with us. So then we started to play clubs in Hollywood. So at our shows, it'd be a real mix of like all of us from the neighborhood mixed with Hollywood types. So we started playing residencies at a place called the Opium Den. That's, I think, and then we would play at this place. It got bumped up to a place called the Dragonfly. So those were events, we were playing those shows and selling them out and playing them every week. And it became a thing. And that's when people started to take notice in terms of the industry.
How did you get
So
turned on to Elmo Sounds?
it was great. They were cool. I think they were, you know, definitely a more of an artist label, than you may ever find again. I mean, they just added the L and the O to their next, and hanging out with those dudes was great. And they had they were at that point they were a boutique label. They weren't like as big as A&M was,
Right.
But their office is right across the street from their publishing company, and
I remember.
right on La Brea, and it was cool. It was exciting, to be kind of be in that circle, and they made the most sense. They made with their offer. We were working with the A&R guy called Andy Oliphant, who still, works in the music business, and it was a big deal for us, And I think what like they say about the first records, we had already made the first record by playing it. We played that record that whole year and a half and kind of shaped it. It was our show, really. What we recorded was our show. And then there were a few songs we kind of developed in the studio or in the writing process leading up to it. But the bulk of that was our show.
And most of the songs were the original songs.
Yes.
Now, did all of you write, or who was the main writers?
I think it's the same, It's like the main writers were Ashru and me and Justin. I don't think Justin was writing as much then though, but it was the original rapper, Charlie, was on that record. Uh, so it was I think it was us three, but we really wrote songs together, and what we found was that, um, the interesting thing is, and bands go through this, we had to do writing credits, and it was like three of us getting the
Oh,
bulk of it.
hmm.
People were like, "Oh, what's that about?" And we're like, "That's kind of how the way it's done. We don't have to do it that way." And we had a big discussion on all the efforts of things that other people did. Say, for instance, Will. Like, Will was such acted as a manager in the beginning before we got our manager, was such a spearheaded like the idea of the band in so many ways. And but he wasn't a writer, you know. And so we felt and agreed after that, hey, we're just gonna share everything. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter who does what. This is all we're gonna divide this all up equally. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're still together after so long, because um that could probably be a real sore point for people,
Oh, of course.
especially when you're doing all this other kind of work, administrative work and stuff. And we saw easy, and because we were doing so much, how much organization it took to call everybody to make. I remember we made copies of a live show that we did at the Opium Den, and we're just to sit and make copies of that. And I might, I'm one other guy might be writing a song, one other guy might be doing that, but they were equally important getting us going and getting us started. And that's kind of the way it's been ever since. Yeah.
That was a good idea. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
examples of that, like the
Yeah.
Animals in the '60s, "House of the
Yeah.
Rising Sun." It was a traditional song, but one guy got all the songwriting credit for it, the organ player,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he wound up making millions of dollars, and even Eric Burdon didn't get shit, and that
It's
caused hatred between them forever.
yeah,
You know.
it really isn't fair in my opinion. Hmm.
One of the things that surprised me about the first album was you guys came out of the gate kicking ass. I mean, it's tight, it's together, it's fiery. It's just, I mean, it's like you've been recording forever. It was just very impressive.
We had a really good producer who was not a musician. He was a DJ.
Mm.
This guy T-Ray, who was really smart, interesting guy, and was committed to kind of like the value of music, and the value of its presentation. And there was a lot of so that the concept of being a tight band was very much down his lane. And we had to have takes that were on and that were solid and that were tight. Because for him, that tradition of dance music and DJ music and hip hop music, which he was producing, it was like that music, it's on, and whatever the parts are, they're on. Even if we're sampling, like it's on. And we're sampling from that source that is on. If the MC and the rapper is anything at, he needs to be rhythmically tight. Any other instruments that are playing along, they need to be. So is that tradition? I think from a real, I would say like funk Black American tradition that he was tapped into. That anything we did, even if it was a ballad, it had to have a feel that was tight, and that was real important to him. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Let's mention some of the songs on that album here.
yeah,
Cut Chemical Sweet. It's
yeah,
kind of hip hop. It's
yeah,
funk. You got
Yeah.
the scratching turntable. Is there anything you want to say about that song?
But Chemist Suite, and it's
What did I say? Yeah, did I say something else?
chemical. It's all
Oh,
good.
cut chemist
Another song.
suite. Sorry.
We've been chemical.
Hey, that's another story.
And and that was this kind of, they had this. Charlie and Cut were in this band when they were before. It's called J5. It had made this EP, and it was kind of a bite off of that tune, and we kind of made our own version of it, and embellished it, and used, Cut, and but put drum set on top. Had that kind of bass line that was really a part of that tune, and then the horn players came up with their own lines. I'm just playing this kind of like basic, wah kind of groove behind it. Also, because I'm trying to shape songs with those parts, I do a little like what I'd call like an organ part or something on the wall. You know, it's just this bear, it's a line. Bear, rear, 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 rear. I'm just shaping the chord, but it's kind of like distinguishing the parts in the verse because that's what I learned. Okay, well, here's the first verse. This groove's all the same. How do we add another element on the second half of the verse, even because we're playing the same groove that just kind of keeps it moving and we get into the full thing. So we're all just in there making decisions as to how to make it work. Giro's playing tabla on that song, I think. So, and that's kind of a cool element. So we're just trying to be all the things we're bringing in the most, how do we make this groove that's simple but funky, have room, have parts, and it's always like just these simple touches, what you're trying to do and do them well. Yeah.
It's super funky, and there's some great live versions on YouTube of you
Yeah,
guys doing
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's
It's
fun with it.
killer.
Yeah. I saw one
Hey,
today on Instagram. I reposted it. It's
oh,
like us on Conan.
oh wow.
It's it's fast, but it's like a 4-minute version of like us jamming this tune out. It's cool. Yeah, yeah,
What about chota? So chota is Chicano slang for cops,
yeah, yeah.
and it
So
says cuidado.
yeah, so there's always that element of what we were talking about and being kids who grew up in the neighborhoods that felt, kind of what the element of the police was not always positive.
No, tell me about it. I'm still
So,
afraid of the cops when they're behind me.
so, so having that experience growing up, it was one of the things that we resonated with all of us, and we had different experiences, even playing clubs and doing the stuff we would do. It's so interesting that when we would do our song, we would start often our early shows with the samba line going in, like a batucada kind of style,
Hmm.
kind of like mix of like Brazilian and Cuban kind of, and walk in marching onto the stage and then start our set and end it that way. And sometimes like cops would be like on our ass if on making noise on the streets playing drums. So we'd have experiences in our past growing up. We'd have experiences playing together. And that was one of the subjects when we had to write a song for the record. That was one. And we were working with this really great bass player from New York, this Boricua cat. And we wrote the song with him. We all got together and that was his take on us. It was like, oh yeah, you guys have this perspective. Like, what if we straight up and we're like, cool, let's write it. And so that was a crazy song because there's so many elements happening in that song.
It's got a cool tres part you did. Really cool.
Yeah, and it's a very one of the very chromatic kind of uh line and just so we were all like digging into this. Okay, how can we use these influences and elements that were, and especially me, like learning and really apply it to the situation and try to make it work. And we really built that one up in the studio. That was one of those things because we weren't playing that song a lot live, but we were learning. When we were rehearsing for all the recordings, we would rehearse to a metronome, very slow, really understand what our parts were, really understand like, oh, the hi-hat right there, it's like a little off. Like he'd be like, oh yeah, I get it. And we were that examining of ourselves in our playing, even if it was a if it was just a like I need to really do it well and right and understand how it's all locking in. So that song was built up in the studio. I remember it was a lot of fun, it was a lot of work because there's all these parts to it. It goes into this like danzón section,
Yeah.
you know? So really l- getting all that right was it was work. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
tres really drives it really
Yeah,
nicely.
yeah, yeah. I love playing those parts. Yeah.
Then there's Cumbia de los Muertos, and there's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
great live versions of that out there.
Yeah, yeah. That's a fun song. We were playing a party at Cal Arts in one of their lobbies or something for students, and everyone just said cumbia. They want a cumbia. Let's play a cumbia. I don't know. We just come up with this, and we just started. I might have started saying cumbia, cumbia. That
Oh yeah,
just
Cumbia,
let's just fill
Cumbia.
in the let's just fill in the blanks. It was kind of catchy. So when we
Very
thought
catchy.
we should make that into a song, then we getting into like all those elements of how to do it. What I'm doing is more of a reggae tradition in my guitar playing. So I'm doubling the bass lines a lot. That's an overdub. That's what they do in reggae music a lot. You hear the
Yeah.
and then there's the octave higher guitar just kind of plucking the exact same line. That gives it this kind of like fat bottom sound. They're using these two instruments. Um, my stuff, we'd come up with these interesting little break lines. Um, the beginning is a question that people always have for me on that song, the guitar riff, the intro riff. It's like I'm playing a minor nine on the 10th fret on G, clipping it into a diminished chord. Uh, and I didn't think that was a big deal. Uh, I took a jazz class at PCC with this guy, Bobby Bradford. I'm not a jazz guitar player, but I was having to look at these charts, go, what are these chord forms? And a minor nine came up, and I was like, oh, this is oh, that's one way to play it. So I thought, oh, that's more interesting than just playing. Let me make it like a little intro. And a funny story about that, I got to play with Juanes, and they invited us to sit in with him, but he wanted to play the Cumbia de los Muertos, him and his band. They're like, we want you to join us on your song. They were doing that at every of their gigs. They'd get some local that they liked and play one of their songs. And it was kind of like added something to the show. He called us up to go play. They were playing at LA Live at what's now Microsoft Theater. I don't know what it was back then. And him and the guitarist both came up to me and said, we couldn't figure out that beginning. I showed them, like, they were like, oh, wow. They were like, we weren't even there. We weren't even close to there. We were all like, what's he doing here? So, well, that's fun.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And the lead vocal in that is Asdrubal, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he sings the shit out of it.
Yes, it is.
Okay, then there's that Olele.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite song. One of my favorite songs to play with Ozomatli.
Again,
Like
it's funky, it's hip
yeah,
hop,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
great groove in the horns,
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. So we just introduced this kind of more like Afro-Cuban Orisha tradition groove in the beginning.
Mhm.
We're kind of referencing that style, and all of us just kind of finding a way to fit in. And it's a rap tune. I think Charlie does a great song, but great job. But the groove of that, like that's one of my favorite songs to play. It's got a real cool swing. The drummer on that was our original drummer. He was amazing. And I love playing that song. And when we get to play it, I'm very happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have Super Bowl Sunday, but
Yeah.
Sunday spelled like an ice cream sundae.
Yeah. 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 So it was a reference to us smoking weed and stuff like that, because that's the Super Bowl. But it was this funny take on that, like a Sunday as like a sweet treat. So for us, we're looking at it that way. But he just starts rapping about
Yeah,
different things, and then those elements in the beginning of that, we have this whole Indian
that's what I was gonna say. There's a
guy.
nylon string guitar, and there's East Indian style with a tabla.
Yeah, so that's not me playing. That's this guy Paul Livingston, who we met. Jiro, Will met Jiro. Jiro was playing tabla at a restaurant called Pyru's in East Hollywood, I think on Sunset. And Will walked in and saw Paul and him playing, and we're in this restaurant. We're like, "Oh, you guys are amazing!" And invited Jiro to come play. And So when we had this idea, we gotta feature you, Jiro. Jiro was like, I want to get featured with Paul, like who that's how you guys met me. And we were like, cool, man, like bring him in. And he did this. Paul let me still plays. I play with him every once in a while. He did he grew up in like Altadena area, still lives there. They went to Cal Arts together, and that's how they know each other. And we use that as an intro, and then we just kind of get into this, what I would call it more, it's more of like a Bob James like sound, like when you hear this kind of heavy funk and horn parts, because it's heavy. That the beginning of that is heavy. You know, it's very like heavy funk groove, almost a little rocked out in the beginning. You know.
Then there's Coming War, and it's a very
Yeah, yeah,
politically
yeah,
strong song.
yeah. Charlie, the rapper for that, just sat with each of us and said, "What concerns you in the world right now?" And that's a list of that's our list. And he just kind of weaved it into a rap for him to kind of give it all.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last one I'm going to mention is La Misma Canción, and I
Oh,
would
that's
call
a
that like hardcore polka.
it's like a one take wonder of we used to just jam it out like this kind of rocked out norteño tune, and it was just this joyous kind of fun. We'd end the show with that. The record is like that. And on that, I think on the recording, I even think I break a string. And the producer's like, leave it in. It's fine. Like, don't let this is the vibe of this tune. It's just raw, straight ahead. You guys sending us off, you know, and like, you know, in this with this kind of vibe. So, um, yeah, I mean, the lyrics are funny in that. It's just a remembering of you know of that we're all connected. We're all connected to the earth, and we're from the tribe that might always have to deal with the fact that people don't see it that way. You know, it's the same old song we're gonna get from those in power, so to speak. That we're all human. We all share this thing. We're all from the land, so to speak. We're all, you know, we're all brothers. We're all sisters. There's all, you know, I mentioned my kids in there, and it's just a reclamation of kind of like we're all connected. And you're gonna
Right.
hear the same old song from other people.
Right.
Fuck that, we're connected. You know.
But you know, the people in power, not just the people in our country, but
Yeah,
the people that run the world,
yeah,
they don't
yeah.
want us to unite. They divide us, divide and conquer. That's how a tiny amount of people can control the whole earth.
Yeah.
We
So
got to fight.
we're just that song was just a simple reminder, a celebratory reminder.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Hardcore polka, man.
yeah, yeah,
So before we get off of Alamo Sounds, I think you did that
yeah,
one album for Alamo Sounds,
yeah.
right?
That was it.
And I saw somewhere on the internet that you did. You were involved in a Herb Alpert thing with him, whipped
Yeah,
cream.
he made a kind of like a recorded remix record
Yeah.
of that classic record, reinterpreted version, so to speak. So we got a call from this guy, Anthony Marinelli, who is primarily known for being on like a lot of Michael Jackson tracks. He was a keyboard player, a synth player, like he used to have those big crazy analog synths, you know, from back in the day. He had been doing that since he was a kid. Really good piano player. And we got a call from him and we did a version of one of those tracks that became the lead single actually. We played on Jay Leno with Herb Albert.
You actually
Um
played with him?
yeah. And so you know it was cool to kind of like have that reconnection. He was a sweetheart to us and um we would see Jerry Moss more than we would see Herb Albert at the studio and stuff. And hanging out with that guy was so cool too. But you know, so Herb, when we got the call for that, and that became the song, he was like, "Cool," you know. So you know, it was so fun playing with him, and he was so cool about it all. He just said, "Oh yeah," once we had the track, because he's so specific about his sound. You know,
Hmm.
he's like, "Yeah, my sound is set up in my studio with my engineer." And he just played everything. And then after that, he did a few other things for us, just for us. And it was a great experience, you know, like people like that that we
And
get to
he's
get.
still around. He's like around 90 years old and he's still playing.
Guy is so well preserved. That's like rich man well preserved, you know? You look at him, his skin looks great. You're like, oh, like what's going on here? We played Love Potion #9 with him.
Oh, I guess right. I saw that.
And he played on, we made this record much later on. it was a concept. We would play Jamaican styles of Mexican hit songs. He played on Mesame Mucho with us. He played the trumpet for us. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Like I said, what I think I'll do is we'll do an album, then we'll just go to some other
Oh,
subject and come back
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
keep it interesting. So tell me about that State Department tour you did. That's incredible.
So we got a call from the State Department to, be like cultural ambassadors, different parts of the world. We were a little skeptical at first. We weren't sure what this was about. This was Bush was president. We were like, what is this? And what we found was that there was a lot of highly educated hippies in the State Department that used to be
Mhm.
in the Corps and stuff. And this was their little subversive thing. Yeah.
Mm.
They were like, we need you guys here because like this other political bullshit is not
Yeah, it's
working for
pretty amazing.
us. And so we met a bunch of great people. The first place we went to was India. It was quite amazing and stunning. And we got to play in places all over the world that we probably wouldn't have gone to.
Yeah,
And what we ended up doing was making a lot of friends with a lot of cool people and a lot of cool humans, from places that people we know and made some impressions and were given impressions of, how most people love each other, how most people are open to one another, how once you get together, the narratives that we hear in the news and all that are mostly not true. And for us, we had an opportunity to kind of, even though a lot of us felt that way, for that to be reinforced and the other way around too. Yeah.
I have a list here of where you went.
Yeah.
You traveled to Asia, Africa, South America, Middle
Mhm.
East, Tunisia, India, Jordan, Nepal,
Yeah.
Myanmar, Vietnam, Thailand, and China. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, places, and you'd go like deep, like China, we went into deep the interior of China,
Wow.
and
And I bet you
places
the
that
people dug you guys everywhere, right?
it was just a trip. And that was great. I think, we're a solid band. We leave it, we come, we show up, we give an impression. We played in Ulaanbaatar, which is the capital of Mongolia. And it happened to be in the time where there's still a nomadic people. That city kind of grows exponentially certain time of year because all people from the steppe come in to get supplies and they camp out there for a while before they go back out and the weather changes. So the city was at its peak. You have we played in front of 25,000 people
Holy.
in the middle of like no one's ever heard of us. We rocked it, but it's just wild, to be able to like do something like that and have those kinds of like opportunities and experiences, which are really unique and really special and one of a kind things for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. And it probably made it really cool too, because you guys were, kind of people of color,
What would be
multiracial,
great is
very,
for the audience to be like, "You're the American band." We'd be
yeah,
like, "Yes,
that's
yes,
right,
we
brother.
are."
What an experience, man. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was what was that early 2000s or
I think so. Yeah, yeah. When we first started
oh,
doing it.
did I see a picture of you guys with Obama?
Yeah, we played events. We get hired a lot. We met him a couple times. We played at this both sides of the aisle fundraising event called the Hispanic National Caucus in DC.
Mhm.
He was the speaker. We were alongside Mark Anthony and Jennifer Lopez there. That's when they were married. Other Jose Andres, this big chef we became friends with, who's a super important guy now. Does a lot of great work around the world. All the Hispanic congressional people, but on both sides of the aisle. And we met him there. We also met him on a campaign event at USC that we played at. And he was, yeah, he was cool. He gave us the shake and the hug and
There you go.
everything.
Cool dude. So let's get into the second album, Embrace the Chaos,
Yeah,
Interscope Records,
yeah, yeah,
2001.
yeah,
And you got a Grammy for Best Latin Rock Alternative Album.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, that most of the songs are there were three producers on that. Most of the songs are made by this incredible producer who just passed named Bob Power. He's an incredible musician, but he was known for really having a mark on hip hop music. He worked with some classic records. He made most of the Tribe Called Quest records. He made a lot of, Erykah Badu's first records. There's this whole scene out of New York that he was a part of. At D'Angelo's first records, um, the Roots first records,
Mm.
very kind of specific style that we were into. that we called him up for. He was great. He was tough. He was like not necessarily fun to work with. He was super controlling about his signal. But those are the best sounding records that I think, the best sounding recordings I think we've ever made. Like you hear on there, there's a salsa tune that's a mix of salsa and like funk called Guerrero. Actually, Martin Quetzal are singing chorus with us on that, and Gabriel and Cava, Gonzalez family, great singers. That recording to me sounds so good.
Yeah.
Super like well recorded material. His songs. Those other tracks on that record are by Mario Caldado, mainly known for Beastie Boys fame.
Hmm.
He did a lot of Beastie Boys records, but does a lot of it's a Brazilian, has a great studio up in Eagle Rock. Is responsible for a lot of records, and also Steve Berlin had some made a
Oh,
couple.
that's right, from Los Lobos.
Yeah, yeah,
Speaking of Guerrero,
yeah,
my name's Guerrero, which means
yeah, yeah,
warrior,
yeah,
but
yeah,
guerrillero is like a guerrilla fighter, right? Guerrilla.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And I got a cool definition of that, of guerrilla. You know,
Mhm.
a small, unofficial, and often politically motivated armed group that uses unconventional tactics like ambushes, sabotage, and raids to fight against larger official military or police forces. And the kind, and you can be a guerrilla artist too, you
I
know.
think musically that's our vibe. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did a cool guerrilla thing one time. This guy worked at a local NBC affiliate, and he said, "Hey,
Mm,
you want to make a video?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, come down on Sunday." He had the
mm.
keys, and we just went in there. I went in there. We did a video in 2 hours, and it's been on YouTube for like 20 years and
Awesome,
gets a lot of
awesome.
hits. Yeah,
Check
but
it
it was
out.
like guerrilla recording. Get in,
Yeah,
get out. Nobody
yeah.
was any the wiser.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a cool song. And it's
Yeah.
a salsa, right?
Yeah, it's got this, and then it goes into this like funk groove, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the genres, man. Some other songs on there. One, two, three, four.
Yeah, that's
Eh,
with a tribe called Quest.
Oh yeah.
Those are doing the vocals on that song.
Oh wow. The beginning
That
and the end. It almost sounds like a 1940s big band type of thing. And then
kind of
it gets.
like this. I think it's our take on like, Southern like New Orleans style stuff too.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of that like marching band swing, you
But
know.
in the middle, it goes into this groove, and there's great harmony on the horns, and there's rap. It's an
Yeah, yeah,
amalgam again of
yeah,
styles.
yeah.
Yeah. That was cool. Dos cosas ciertos. And
Yeah,
usually
that
people say it's death and taxes, right?
yeah,
And you
yeah.
say it's death and change.
Yeah, yeah. That's what he said. Yeah, that's the chorus for us. And I'm using the tres on there. It's kind of like a uh, a rock rap song, kind of, but our own kind of Caribbean version of it, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was cool. And then Embrace the Chaos. It starts with
yeah,
a bullhorn, and there's like the police, and they're trying not to get them to escalate, and it's kind
yeah.
of an
That's from
activistic song.
a real recording that of us in the Democratic Convention. We played a rally with um um Rage Against the Machine.
Mm,
And the cops, we got stopped. Rage Against the Machine played. We played after the cops stopped us. They came in on horsebacks into this closed area and drove everybody out. And what you're hearing is
it's
the
a real
recording.
recording. Wow.
Recording. And then we that was just me on a guitar. I had this idea singing, and we tried to recreate it and it didn't feel right. It was like this little demo. He's like, we're gonna use the demo and we'll just build it up. And so that's just me with the six string playing this kind of trippy little progression and part and singing. I think I did it on one of those like eight track those little early digital recorders,
Mm,
a little Roland 8 track or something.
right, right.
And he took that because, in his tradition in hip hop, early hip hop, that's what they were doing. He's like, oh yeah, we would just grab this off a thing and beef it up in the studio and clean it up as best we could and like cue it and really get it centered to use and then add other stuff. And I was like, okay, well, let's do that. And that's Common, and that's a great song. And Common is a pretty big MC. He's also a big actor at this point. He's playing on that record. He's the MC on that record.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Uh, Pensativo interlude. That's like freeform jazz, no tempo, soundscape kind of a thing, man.
That's Eddie Palmieri.
Really? I thought, who in the
Yes.
hell is that guy, a piano player? Well,
We were on um yeah, we were playing this stuff, yeah.
that's fantastic. That
That's one
helps.
of like Aju's orchestral pieces. And we were like, just go for it, let's do it. And we had a bunch of really great players and like, let's just build it up.
Hmm. So once again, I'm going to jump away from the
Yeah,
album for a second.
cool.
Um, so how about this? Another whole topic. Because you guys are such activists, and on one of your interviews, I heard one of your guys say something about, well, we're probably on the list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, I'm sure you are on a list, and I know I interviewed the guys from Aslan Underground. You know them? You probably know them, right? You know that group?
Oh yeah. I know
Yeah,
all
yeah.
those dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a show with them, and
Yeah.
they were saying, one time they were playing out in a park, and one of those black helicopters came and hovered over
Oh,
them,
yeah, yeah.
unmarked, just checking them out. I mean, they were definitely under
Yeah.
surveillance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you guys
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
really noticeably noticed any hassles like that.
I think, yeah, we have, but we don't care. We just,
There you go, man. You can't.
like, whatever.
Don't give it any power.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So I see that you were on the Santana Supernatural tour you opened.
Yeah, we were on that. A producer that we made a few records with named Casey Porter, who was big in like kind of like the Latino pop world, but one big song he made that we all loved is Matador by um Los Fabulosos Cadillacs. You know that song, Matador? He
Yeah.
made that tune. He did a bunch of stuff with a bunch of different bands, and produced and wrote a lot of songs on Supernatural. He was one of the producers on that. And we already had played with Santana, and Santana told us, I want this band on this record. And so he called us, and really what he called for was Aju and me. And like, okay. So we worked on a couple of songs that they were developing. I was playing a bunch of different guitar parts. Aju was playing the different horn parts. We were all singing. Um, I'm on El Farol. I play jarana and vihuela on El Farol because he told me bring everything that you have, like all the different kinds of guitars. So I'm just simply strumming on that record on Supernatural, on this one instrumental tune called El
Oh wow.
Faro.
Now on the
And
tour, though, it must have been pretty crazy because that was such a big album, right? It was the
yeah, it
Rage.
was fun. I mean, it was so much fun. We were like the new kids, and we had so much energy, and we have so many great stories from that, and just hanging with them, and I got to start playing with him every night. I'd play like 6 or 7 songs on the set.
Cool.
He was like, "Oh yeah, that other guitar part's cool. You want?" I was like, "Oh yeah." So I was playing on like 6 or 7 tunes every night with him by the end,
Wow, fantastic, man.
and it was like Benny Riefeld and like different badass drummers, that he'd have, Carl, but us like all these amazing musicians who were really supportive. And he was like, "The boss said you get to play, so we'll make sure you feel good." I was like, "Okay."
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, all that stuff was fun. Yeah, it was quite a thing. Yeah.
And you jammed once with Stevie Wonder, or what was that about?
Yeah, well, we were playing at this place in Grand Performances downtown LA. You ever been there? Really great
No.
outdoor venue right off of Grand. They have free summer concerts there, and they were doing a show there that was a special show that was for the library. Um, it was Songs of LA, and this friend of ours, Josh Kuhn, who we met,
Right.
music writer, who would write some of our bios, a professor at USC, was like, "Hey, I got all these kids. We archived all these sheet musics in the basement of the library, and we organized all the songs about LA from like the early part of the 20th century to like now." And we're like, "Oh, cool." He goes, "And we want to do a show, and we want you to be the house band, and we'll get different artists to sing, blah blah blah." So cool. So it was one of those gigs where we were the house bands and different people were singing. I know Marisol sang, Las Andresitas sang, Ceci Bastida sang, we sang. We had Jackson Brown sang. We backed him up on a few tunes, and they would sing one of their songs about LA that we would play with them, and one of these songs that were picked by the library. So we're like, oh, this is cool. So then as you get closer, different people are joining. Oh, we gotta learn this song. And Stevie Wonder's coming. Oh, whoa, okay.
Mhm.
So it was a last minute thing up until the end. And he wasn't sure if he was coming. He was able to come. He played a song on his own to his own tracks called La La Land on one of his records. And it's about,
LA.
kind of, so he starts playing it to tracks. And he's playing keyboard and drum, and his tracks crapped out.
Ooh,
And he's up there, like, everybody looks at us and they're like, you guys gotta go out there. We're like, okay. So we just picked it up and started kind of filling in. And that was the end of the show. So we were like, look, we're finishing the show with the last few songs. Just stay on with us. He's like, fine. So we went into Como Vas and stuff. And he started playing with us. We could riffing with us. And
fantastic.
we just started jamming. And, such a talented and such an amazing voice. Started making up his own chorus. We started singing along with that. So it's just a big jam. And there was a writer from the LA Times, this guy, I'm forgetting his name, Randall Roberts, who we knew, who had worked with us before, and saw us after and was like, you saved the night. You saved him and you saved the night, and it all worked out great. We were just lucky we were there to kind of pull something together while all this was happening. So it was unexpected, but it was, that's how it
It's
happened.
quite a memory there.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of, you mentioned Josh Kuhn. I saw that TED Talk you guys did with
Oh
him.
yeah, yeah. So we got asked to do a TED Talk in San Francisco, and we weren't sure what to do, and we approached him, say, hey, we need a narrative, and could you narrate it? And we'll just kind of like do it, and that's how we
It
put it
was
together.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah, they called it At the Edge of Urban Identity. So he
yeah,
would
yeah,
say something, you guys would play a song, and it
yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah,
So, and speaking of energy, you guys are such an energetic group. I love the way you move around and you're jumping all over the place and
yeah,
playing heavy
yeah,
music. And yet, your music is also cerebral. There's intelligence in it. So it's the idea that you can have huevos and
yeah,
brains.
yeah, yeah. It's like we take cues from a lot of, and some guys are very trained and they want harmonic sophistication at times, or they want certain kinds of horn lines that are not easy, and we're all about it, because it just makes it more interesting for all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great performers, man, really. Okay, let's see another album here. Um, where was I here? Oh, Street Signs,
Hmm.
2004. There was a song called Who Discovered America? That's an interesting topic. Great groove. You're doing a wah wah solo. That's you, right?
What song?
Uh, Who Discovered America?
Yeah, that was a song that was written for Santana. Didn't make it to his record. Azure was one of the writers, and we said, well, let's put it on our record. And so I just had my own like spaced out, um, kind of like edgy solo. I remember like, yeah, with the wah pedal, and like I didn't want it to be normal, you know. I didn't want it to be like, so I just did my own kind of thing, my own interpretation of what I would do.
Very cool.
I remember
Shades
we
of,
did pretty quick. We took a few takes and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's the one." Really cool.
Shades of Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah,
So,
way more. I wanted more, some of that. Like some. I was thinking of there was this. There's this YouTube song called "Bullet the Blue Sky."
mhm,
And it's just like whoa, this kind of sounds, and then of course like a machine gun and stuff like that. And so yeah, I was more into that kind of thing.
cool.
Yeah, yeah,
And the song is Saturday Night, and
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
great video on that, man, and
yeah, yeah,
great groove.
yeah.
The revolution will begin this Saturday night.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the idea of I think we're on the tip of like revolution isn't like even political stuff. It's not on the point of being all downer or anti. It's kind of like we're taking control, but it's a party, it's like a celebration. There's an element of achieving what you want, and working for what you want, and even fighting for what you want. But there's a celebratory aspect to that also. And we always think that that's part of, what we can bring and part of what we don't do enough. We don't celebrate all that hard work that everybody does to make change in society.
And you're wearing those sort of military pants and
Yeah, yeah,
jumping
yeah,
around. And
yeah,
there's that big thing on the ceiling. Where was
yeah.
that filmed?
It was filmed in a stage in like Burbank. Yeah,
And the thing
that's
was
what.
on the ceiling. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
incredible.
It was like our stage was like it was like a mounted. They had all that stuff so you can mount lights on and everything. And, yeah.
A great
I think
video.
we had an Ozo sign from that. That's a neon sign that Piero has at that.
Oh, at the
At,
museum?
yeah, yeah. I
At our
think it's out on the
exhibit.
street right in front of, on the outside. Yeah, he has that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Then there was Nadie Te Tira. It's
yeah.
a
I love that
salsa
song.
song, pretty killer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't
It's
Mess
just,
with the Dragon.
yeah, that was fun. I was going through some personal changes there in a relationship. It's not necessarily about drugs, but it is about change and being down and how you have to dig in and how um coming home in a sense. Sometimes you have to come home. You have to come back home sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. Don't get too caught up.
Yeah.
There is a way out if you do. So yeah, yeah.
T- touch base at home.
Yeah.
City of Angels, tribute to LA.
Yeah, that was a song Justin wanted to write a tune. He had brought me this old like Muddy Waters riff that he had cut up with a beat. And I was like, oh, it's like the and I just took that and we made, it's like let's use that as the basis of something, but we got to make a song. So we made this kind of like cool hip hop, kind of like rock song, because it's pretty rock in that tune. I love playing that song. There's just those weird chromatic and also like um yeah, like chromatic, like rock funk riffs that we're putting in there that I really like. And so that was fun. Yeah, I got to, I don't get to like unleash a lot on guitar,
Unleash.
but when I do, like, it's fun for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
You mentioned a couple minutes ago about you went through some hard times and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
I found
yeah.
it really interesting. I saw an interview with you guys where you guys said that you guys actually went to therapy as a band or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That is incredible. What a great idea.
We were falling apart. There was, half of us needed to get sober. Um, there was, some legal complaints that were happening, which is all normal if you're in a
Yeah,
band for a long time, and if you have any kind of relationship with each other, because we're all human and all the dynamics we bring as individuals. So it's the same thing but we learned how to be better people in this band for sure. And that was one of the things our manager at that time was a woman who was really helped us grow. It was like you guys need to sit around and like talk to each other. And there's this process. And some of us had been in individual therapy, and we're all right. It saved us. We still do it. We've done it recently, like just to kind of we're talking about making some new music. So it's still a thing we do. It's still a way we connect. It's a good way to kind of be able to have a easier guidance to dig in with real complaints that we might have about each other or real things that we're uncomfortable about with our business, with each other. But then also oftentimes I think what happens is you kind of remember all the good too.
right, right.
You can get wrapped into this thing that you're in, right? And then when you're able to kind of like unravel that a little and see the big picture a little more, you can kind of take a step back and not take things so personally. So we were able to work through some stuff, and we have been able to do that for many years. Yeah.
Great idea. I mean,
Yeah.
because a band, especially a long-term band, it's like a marriage with five, six different people. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
complex
Yeah.
relationships, and
Yeah. It
after a
is.
period of time,
It is. It is.
therapy is a good idea. More bands should go to therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very smart. Oh, recently you performed at one of the No Kings demonstrations, right?
Yeah. 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 That
Let's
was
talk about
that,
that.
we know that was happening, and we just felt like we have to be a part of it. So we've done it twice. We got on a flatbed truck.
Yeah, I saw that.
We were just kind of jamming tunes, making up tunes, just helping people keep their spirits up, letting them know, as a band that we're down with that, but also just being part of the fabric of it, of the event, the backdrop, keeping people's spirits up. It takes a lot for people to get out there. We want to remind people it's worth it, and that we can have a party when we're doing this, and we can have fun when we're doing this, and we can like encourage each other and give each other energy to like stay up and keep on the right side of things.
Yeah, music lifts the whole spirits. And one of the No Kings in L.A., Neil Young showed up and Joan Baez and performed.
Yeah. It's a big deal. Yeah. Mm,
That's great, man.
cool.
Got a big battle we're waging right now.
Yeah.
Um, you made an album, Fire Away. Was that an album, Fire
Yeah.
Away?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I couldn't find that online to hear it.
Oh, interesting. I'll send you a link of it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, it says here it was recorded by a stripped down lineup featuring the six constant members
Yeah.
plus Career on drums and Justin Paray.
Yeah. Kaliri on drums and Justin's always in the band. So
While the band's sound remained an eclectic mix, there was a noticeable drop in the influence of Latin musics and not many lyrics in Spanish. Several of the songs featured a more accessible R&B based sound. The album also had fewer overtly political songs, although the track Gay Vatos in Love made
that's
a clear
mine.
statement in support of LGBT rights.
Yeah, that's my song. Yeah.
So tell me about that. You guys are, the ones who are Latinos, most of you are Chicanos, right?
Yeah. We made that at Tony Burke's house, this really great producer who's still working and like done stuff since he was a kid. We made it in his house. We sat there for a long time in his garage and just kind of like shaped things, and this is what we came out with. Sonically, it's very different. I think that that's the phase of actually where we're concentrating more on traditional songwriting, like more kind of like higher level songwriting, in my opinion. I mean, because there's groove based songwriting, and then there's songs with lyrics that are and so I feel like Tony's one of his things that he wanted, and I see it, and I see it in some of those records afterward because some of our earlier songs, they're heavily groove oriented, and the dynamism comes from a lot of that. So how do we create, these grooves and stuff, but also have dynamism in the lyrics and in a broader storytelling? Like even that song you mentioned, "Gave Out Those Love." There was the law that was being proposed in California at the time, and we said we need to address it. Aju was writing a song for a play, and it never got used, and there was just that chorus, and we all thought this chorus is great. How do we like make it so we sat around and reference? It's that type of songwriting that is a scenario type. So each two lines are a picture of these different places and different things. And
Mhm.
we're referencing actually very real things. We mentioned in the end this a person named Angie Zapata. That was a person that was killed in out of a hate crime, in Colorado, outside of Denver. And they actually came to our show and we played it for.
Wow.
And the mom and the dad, they were just so moved that we mentioned her in the song. And
That's an interesting topic. Like imagine like in the 50s and the 60s, if you were gay in the barrio and you were Chicano, man, you went through hell. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah,
just especially in the
yeah,
Latino culture, the
yeah,
machismo and all that.
yeah, yeah,
But as things have loosened up over the
yeah,
decades, I was
yeah.
stunned and kind of pleased. There was this band backing me up on this project,
Mm,
like more of an orchestra kind of band, not a rock band,
mhm,
and they had a trumpet player, and we had done several shows together. And the trumpet player was some dude playing, he was a great guy. And one day, I went to see them play. They weren't backing me, and suddenly he was dressed as a woman.
mhm,
He, like Bruce Jenner, he decided he was a woman, and
mhm,
like from one day to the next, he was a woman.
mhm,
And the thing that blew me away was they were playing at a car show in Boyle Heights,
mhm,
right there at the Boyle Heights where the Mariachi Plaza is. And it was a lowrider showing all these pachucos and cholos and zoot
mhm.
suiters. And that guy was walking around, nobody bothered him, nobody said
Yeah, cool,
anything.
cool. Yeah, cool.
Amazing how things have changed.
I think there is progress. It's hard when we're in this kind of situation right now that where someone's trying to take that away. But if you look back, there is progress, and so I just want to stay on that side and continue that momentum, and just try, try to allow people to be, whoever they want to be,
Yeah.
and have a more human kind of and humane kind of interaction with most people. Even people you don't agree with. Yeah.
Live and let live. Oh, so the question I started asking earlier was, since most of you guys, many of you are Chicanos that are
Yeah.
bilingual, perfectly
Yeah.
bilingual.
Yeah.
What was it that made you decide that most of your lyrics would be in Spanish?
It's just, I think for us it's just natural. It depends on who's doing what,
Mhm.
and also some of the styles there's like, this is a Latino style, let's just sing it in Spanish. We don't always do that. Uh, but we never have had this kind of real debate over. We never sat around and said, these were just how the songs appeared, and whoever was singing what, this is what took off, and that's kind of what we do. I was like, okay, like that's how you want to. That's the take on it. Let's do it. It's never so regimented
Yeah.
to in terms of, yeah,
And it works because regardless of the audience you're playing around the country or whatever, if they're Anglo, everybody can dig it. The music's there.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
It
Como
works.
Ves, one of the songs on the first record, was like a summer hit on like K Rock, and it's in Spanish, and we were like, okay,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Um, well, then you made the album. Well, there's a couple of things. If you say quickly, Ozomatli presents Ozo Kids. Was that a children's
Yeah,
record?
we were getting to that age where like some of our fans were like, "Oh, I can't go see the show. I got to babysit." And our drummer Mario suggested that, and we made a record that was just for kids. And we do those gigs once in a while. There's a book that came out with one of the songs called Musa and the Loose that was very popular with the kids, and we did some PBS stuff for that too.
Right.
So it just was this other thing that came up that we did. Yeah,
Nice, nice.
yeah,
Then Place in the Sun.
yeah,
Was that an album? And
yeah.
Dave Stewart produced some of it? Or what was the deal with Dave
He
Stewart?
produced one of the songs. He co the one of the songs called "Brighter," which is like this kind of like poppy reggae tune that we put on. And
Mhm.
we made a video with him. We filmed it in my backyard in El Sereno.
Oh,
Dave's
cool.
they're hanging out with us.
Fantastic. And then there was the album in 2017, Nonstop Mexico to
Yeah,
Jamaica.
that was
And it
fun.
had a lot of cover tunes, right?
Yeah, it was like a covers record, and Justin had this concept of taking like popular Mexicano songs and Chicano songs and putting different styles of reggae tunes.
Yeah.
So we'd pick the songs, and then we'd listen. And then we go, oh, this could be like a ska tune. Oh, this could be like a electro reggae tune. Oh, this could be like a classic Sly and Robbie tune. Oh, this could be like, and we just kind of applied that to these tunes. This could be a dub song. This could be you know,
And was it produced by Sly and Robbie? Because you mentioned that.
they got, what we did with them, we worked with them was wild, right? So we made all these tunes and tracked them as much as we could, and then we sent it to them, and they were living in Miami.
Oh,
They were like,
nice.
all right, they took it all and they kind of like replayed stuff, messed with it, and then gave it back to us. And then
Fantastic.
we did more work to kind of like just do this, and then that was it. Yeah. So
Wow.
there's tracks I'm on with Sly
So
and
some of the
Robbie.
songs, here, I'll just mention the songs. Como La Flor. It says
Yeah.
Selena cover. Was that originally
Yeah.
done by her or what?
I think that is originally her
Because I
song. Yeah.
played that song with a band
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. Super popular. That's kind of one of her classic tunes. We did like it's kind of like a one drop style.
Hmm.
They call
Yeah.
that style in reggae one drop. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you got Besame Mucho, La Bamba, reggae version with a
Yeah.
rap. Solamente
Yeah.
una vez, slow reggae,
Yeah.
De Paisano.
Yeah.
That's cool because people are holding up signs, protest signs.
Yeah, we that was also a song when there was like all the anti one other wave of anti-immigrant, legislation was trying to come through in the state, and so we picked that song for that, and we went around different parts of LA just,
Yeah,
talking to people.
you were
Yeah.
in this little restaurant. Was it the one that's there by Mariachi Plaza? It's a really tiny Mexican
Yeah, we
restaurant.
were there. We were
I've been in
there. We
there.
were also in restaurants in on Fairfax in the more like African part of town. We were in MacArthur Park, and there we were all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to
Yeah.
mention just how we met. We just met recently, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was
I've known
at
of
the,
you for many years.
pardon me?
I've known of you for many years, and I've seen you play before for
Oh,
many years.
really? Oh, I hope I
Yeah,
was okay. I was good.
yeah.
But no, we hadn't met, and
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
heard of course, your band, and I'd heard of
yeah,
you.
yeah,
But we met at the Nancy Sanchez
yeah,
fundraiser,
yeah, 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 yeah,
and that was cool. It was a cool event, and
yeah,
we played together on the finale
yeah,
jams,
yeah, that
where
was
we
fun.
did Wooly Bully and Land of a
Yeah,
Thousand
yeah,
Dances, and
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
was taking solos, and it was a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
fun. And
yeah,
that's when we met.
yeah,
Then I ran into again a month or so ago
yeah,
when
yeah,
Joey Delgado
yeah, yeah, yeah.
solo thing, which was cool, and you did a set very beautifully
He's
acoustically,
amazing.
and
Yeah,
Martha Gonzalez and
yeah,
Quetzal
great.
was there, and it was a great day, and that's what I talked to you about doing this show, and
Yeah, cool.
here we
Love
are,
it.
man.
Yeah,
So I'm really
fantastic.
pleased to finally get to know you, man.
Too.
Um, so let's see. And what about little tidbits here? Not a tidbit, but when you played with the Boston Pops, man, that's serious.
Yeah, we started, I think the first time we got asked to play with the orchestra was, I think it was in New York.
Hmm.
And for summer stage, like summer like,
Hmm.
and we had someone make no, actually it was in Boston because that guy made the charts. The Boston Pops would do this with bands. We got someone from there called us up. We thought it was a cool idea. He wrote charts. We showed up and we played at the Boston Pops Symphony, and it was just an incredible experience. It was an incredible experience to like. There's a song that we play that's off of Street Signs called Cuando Canto. That's a song I sing, and it was so nice to like have it's a ballad and kind of have this orchestra behind me playing. It was
Oh my
pretty
God.
fun.
Then it says you played with
So
other symphonies too, right? After.
yeah, we played with New York Summer Symphony. We've played with the Denver Symphony many times. We've played with the San Francisco Orchestra. We've played with the Washington National Symphony. Um, so yeah, we've played with a number of different
Must have been
orchestras.
thrilling, man. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
it's cool. Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to mention the other cover tunes you did on that
Mm.
nonstop Mexico to Jamaica album. Evil Ways, Volver, Volver, Land of a Thousand Dances, and Come and Get Your Love by Redbone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
That
a
was
cool
fun.
album.
That was our little Chicano song. Like even though it's a native tune.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's see, what else? Oh, I happened to catch a video last night where you guys are doing Willie and the Hand Jive.
Oh yeah, we recorded that in Will's studio, and it was for this movie about Johnny Otis,
It's not finished yet. It hasn't come out yet, right?
and so we made that, and he just said you can put it out if you want, and we did. Yeah,
That was
yeah,
great
yeah,
version.
yeah,
The name of the documentary will be Who the Hell is Johnny Otis?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
he was a special dude. Now he was of
yeah,
Greek
yeah,
ancestry, moved to
yeah,
Watts,
yeah,
and became like an R&B
yeah, yeah,
master.
yeah.
Now, I didn't have time to get into what was the name of your latest album?
Marching on.
Yeah,
It's all good. Yeah, it's cool. That song we started at this great. That was a pandemic record. We started at this great studio in Texas, in outside of El Paso, Antonio, called
hmm,
Sonic Ranch.
yeah.
A really great studio. We were there for about 10 days. He said, okay, this is the first time we got most of the footwork done here. We can come back and finish it. See, we had gigs 5 days later in Hawaii. I stopped in Albuquerque to visit a friend. Everybody, I think, they said we're going to meet in Hawaii. The pandemic started a couple of days later.
Mm.
So by the time we went into the studio and the time we got out, it was already getting crazy. And then it was like everything got shut down. I have a house in Albuquerque now because of that. I stayed there
Oh,
for a while.
cool.
Yeah.
I
So
live in New Mexico.
yeah. So that one we finished during the pandemic and we had to kind of do it all separately. Like
Oh,
we get all the tracks and get our computer systems
send
and
files around.
yeah, and just did our best to kind of put it all together. So,
Cool, man.
I'm proud of that record. I think most of the songs on there I think are really good. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I think that's just about all I got, man.
That's great. Sounds awesome.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
There's a couple of quotes I found here, but it's kind of what your band's all about. It says somewhere I saw one of the band's mottos used to be, "We take you around the world by taking you around LA."
Yeah.
Because everything's there, man. All
Big,
cultures.
big city, modern city.
That's what we love about it. But the other thing that I really relate to, it says, "We're not patriots of America, we're patriots of the world." And you said that right around after 9/11.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what I'm all about. I mean, the song I've ever written and recorded that I'm most proud of is I'm Brown. I don't know if you ever heard it.
cool. I'm gonna
But
check it out.
have
I
you heard
think I
it?
probably seen you play it.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
all over
yeah,
the internet
yeah,
if you put in
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Brown. But I'm so proud of that because I wrote that when I was like 21,
Right on,
and
cool,
it came out in 1972 on Capitol Records. I was a solo artist on Capitol,
awesome. Wow.
and
Who'd you make that record with?
with my band, the guys I grew up with, the
Who
drummer
was the
and bass
producer?
player that I knew since the third grade, kind of like you,
Who
you
was the
know.
producer of that?
It was me. Well, actually, it was me really doing it. But we had a manager, Art Brambilla, who managed
Okay,
Tierra and Yaki and
right on.
me, and he was kind of executive producer. But
Right on, cool.
I was the hands-on guy in the studio.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I had guys. My bass player Rick Rosas went on to play with Neil Young
Yeah,
and Joe Walsh.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It was him and me and Ernie Hernandez, John Valenzuela, a great guitar player that I still play with now.
yeah.
And he was there standing next to you when you were
He's
jamming.
awesome. I love the way he played.
He's got a lot of great taste, man.
So tasty. And I was
Yes.
looking at him going, oh, wow, dude. And he was like,
No, he's a brother, man.
really, really subtle
Yeah, and
taste.
he and I are doing the double lead guitar solo on I'm Brown, And
Cool.
but I love it because it's a protest song, You're brown, you can hang around just as long as you don't make a sound. Don't call
Yeah.
us, we'll keep in touch just as long as you don't say too much. But then the
Mm.
chorus says, Don't you know I'm brown? Can't you see my face? But I'm first a member of the human race.
Yeah,
So it's
cool,
like you
man.
say, I consider myself more a
Cool.
citizen of the world. I'm
Yeah,
proud Chicano. I'm proud of my Mexican roots. I'm an American, but
yeah.
we're all one. We should all have that concept. If we did, it would be a better world. And it probably never happened, but we can do our part.
I think it's worth being on that path, no matter
Yeah,
what.
man. Yeah.
When's your next gig?
I got a thing at the La Plaza de Cultura y Artes where our
What,
exhibit
when? What
is.
day? What day?
Right.
Yeah.
No, well,
What day?
it's actually it's I'm glad you asked. It's a fundraiser for the
Cool.
Boyle Heights Neighborhood Music School. Do you know the school?
I love that fucking place. They're so important. So
Yeah,
important. Been there forever.
they've been around over 100 years.
Important,
It's
important
it's
place.
it's this Victorian house in Boyle Heights,
Yeah, I know exactly.
and
I'm right. My studio is right by here. Where I'm at right now is
oh
right by.
wow,
I'm
well
on
I
Chicago and Whittier, 1 block away from Boyle.
oh cool.
You got to
Well,
come here.
I will. I love to,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I played there and done presentations there a couple times, and my brother's been involved, my brother Dan, with them.
Yeah.
So on May 28th, they're going to give me and my brother awards from the
Oh, beautiful,
neighborhood
beautiful,
music school,
awesome,
and it's going to be a fundraiser.
cool,
It's going to be, maybe $100 a plate, but it's to raise
cool.
money.
I'd love to go if I'm around.
Oh,
I'd love
please
to.
do, man. Please do. And I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna perform a song, and there's some couple other East LA artists from my era gonna come up and
Nice,
do a song,
nice.
and it's gonna be a really nice event, May 28th.
That's great.
Uh, and then I have another thing as far as concerts up in Berkeley, California in November. They're doing a couple of tribute shows to my dad. Lalo
Oh,
Guerrero.
cool, fantastic. Yeah, yeah,
And I'm going to do a solo acoustic set both nights. I'm going to have John with me, the guy we're talking about,
yeah.
acoustically. And then there's going to be like maybe do you remember Dr. Loco and the Rocking Jalapeno Band from the Bay
I
Area?
play with some of those guys up in Watsonville every month.
Really? Well, you
I
heard
play,
that Dr. Loco passed away
yeah,
recently. A
yeah,
beautiful guy.
yeah,
And
yeah.
anyway, it looks like we're going to have them, the surviving guys, play.
Cool. Oh, nice.
And
Yeah, I know
on,
all those cats.
on one of the nights, and then
Yeah,
another night, there's somebody called La Doña. Do you know her?
I
La
do.
Doña?
She's awesome.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'll be
cool.
doing an acoustic set. So I'm
Right
looking
on.
forward to that. That's in November
Cool. That's
6th and
cool.
7th, I believe, in Berkeley.
Cool. Right on.
So that's what's happening, man. But I did want to tell you just in closing that, in doing a deep dive on Ozomatli, I mean, I'm stunned at what great musicians you are, what great performers you are. The songs are great, the energy, and, I can't say enough about you guys and your activism. I love everything about you guys, and
We appreciate
now
it.
I'm a total fan.
We're in a lineage, all of us, of the music that we do, and we're happy to be a part of it.
My first band in East LA was 1963, Mark and the
Awesome.
Escorts, man. We made our first record in 65. So
That's
I've been around
amazing.
that long.
That's cool.
Um, but
Amazing.
yeah, but anyway, I love your band and what you're
I
doing,
appreciate
and I look forward to hearing you live one of these days when you're
it.
in the area. I'd love to hear you live.
Right. For sure. Just reach out.
Okay, man.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon, and let me know.
Yeah,
And I'd love to go see you play. So let me
please
know.
do. And
All right.
let's keep in touch. And thanks for doing this, man.
All right. Thank you. All
See you around.
right, take it easy.
Bye bye.